Hey guys, my name is Jubly, and welcome to my first ever tier list video. Today we are going to be talking about the Killing Floor 2 weapons. More specifically, in this video, we are looking into the Firebug class weapons. I'm doing a Killing Floor 2 weapons tier list in hype of Killing Floor 3, hoping it's going to be good, but obviously I have a lot of doubts. I'm really afraid that it's going to be another Payday 3 situation, and honestly, by the just by the store page on Killing Floor 3, it is looking quite disgusting. But we have not seen the full game released, so who can say for sure if this game is going to be a bust or if this game is going to bust, if you catch my drift. I personally decided to go with the Firebug weapons first because Firebug is one of my favorite classes. I like being able to just burn everything to death and do massive amounts of damage, especially when you have a higher level Firebug. His perk abilities are absolutely insane. With that being said, first on the list is the HRG Incendiary Rifle. You can purchase this weapon for 1,200 Dash, and it weighs you down 6 blocks. This weapon features an underbarrel grenade launcher and fully automatic incendiary rounds. This gun is really decent. I don't mind the price. 1,200 Dash is not really that much. Probably get it around like round 3 if you're really saved. It's not super heavy, so you can run some other weapons with it, which I would suggest. This weapon on its own, it can kill, but when you get surrounded by Zeds, like slashers and clots and stuff, the 30 rounds that you get in the magazine are just not enough to keep all the trash off you. Plus, your grenade launcher, of course, features the minimum arming distance, and we all love that. That basically means if you're too close for the grenade to actually explode, then it's just going to embed itself inside of a Zed, and you will get no explosive effect. This is not good when you're being surrounded by small Zeds, because what would you really want to have in a situation like that? A fucking explosion at your feet. Yeah, if you're not far enough back, it's not going to happen for you. I think a safe place to put the incendiary rifle would be A tier, because it is pretty decent on its own, but excels with a support weapon. Next up, we have the Husk Cannon. You can buy this weapon for 1,500 Dash, and it weighs you down 8 blocks, or whatever you call it. This weapon features a charge and release type of attack. You can hold the fire button until it consumes about 5 of your ammo, and that's the maximum charge you can get, and it deals quite a bit of damage. You can choose to spam fire as well and shoot only 1 bullet instead of the 5 charge, or you can shoot in between the range of that, obviously 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5. I usually just spam fire for a bunch of the little guys and then charge fire for the big guys. Your options for a support weapon are pretty limited, although not even really necessary in my opinion, purely because this weapon, like you can just see there from the background footage, I just annihilated that Scrake and he couldn't get back up. Well, now he's dead. It's stuff like that that makes the weapon good on its own, and honestly, I think if it can survive on its own, almost a definite S tier. You do, however, have to watch out for the splashback if you get too close to your own fireballs. And unlike the incendiary rifle, this has no minimum arming distance, so you could blast your feet and save yourself from a horde. Next on the list here, we have the Dragon's Breath Shotgun, or the Trench Shotgun with incendiary rounds, whatever you want to call it. You can acquire this weapon for 650 Dash, and it weighs you down 5 blocks. There is no alternate fire for this weapon. It is just a fucking 12 gauge instant pump action shotgun. And really, there is nothing wrong with that at all. The spread for this weapon is very decent at far range, and at close range, when all your pellets connect, the Zeds absolutely just get blasted away. I mean, this is a decent support weapon for those higher tier weapons later on, but this weapon can perform on its own, and I have seen it perform on its own. It is a very, very good weapon. The one downside to this Dragon's Breath shotgun would have to be the Z time. If you get Z time while you're using this thing, or honestly any pump action shotgun for that matter, you are getting one shot, activating Z time, and you are pumping your shotgun for Z time. It is really unfortunate that that's just kind of how shotguns work in this game. Pretty solid support weapon, pretty solid weapon on its own. It does chew through ammo quite a bit, and with only 6 shots in the tube, if you're not watching it, keeping it full throughout the round, you can get surrounded pretty quick. So with all that being said, I'm probably going to put that bastard in the B tier. Next up, we have the microwave gun. You can get this gun for 1,500 dosh, and it weighs you down 9 blocks. The weight of this weapon is one of the biggest downsides, in my opinion. It really limits your options for support weapons, like when your microwave gun runs out of ammo, or when you come across a Zed that the microwave gun just can't not handle. With a primary fire of just a microwave beam and an alternate fire of the microwave blast, I suppose, it does pretty decent with the blast when Zeds get too close, but if they're not close enough, it's not going to do much. Also, the microwave beam is pretty limited on its range as well. You really do have to be close with this weapon in pretty much every aspect you use it. It is pretty decent for just absolutely microwaving the bigger Zeds. Like it has its purpose, and I cannot deny that the microwave gun has its purpose. However, I personally fucking hate it. I hate it so much. It just is, it's clunky. Some of the Zeds that I feel like should be dying a lot sooner don't. I end up getting put in a lot of shitty situations when using it. And, you know, I overestimate that it's going to be as good as it is or as bad as it is, because with a 1,500 dosh price tag, in my brain at least, I'm thinking I'm going to be killing hella shit. Like, I'm gonna be just messing everything up. And then when you get into the fight with the microwave gun, it just does not perform. A lot of the times, you know, it induces a little bit of a stumble. The microwave beam just does not kill the smaller Zeds very fast, and even the blast doesn't even kill them. Sometimes you're just knocking things over and like getting out of the way. So it's almost as if the microwave gun is just a very heavy support weapon, and I'm sure playing it with that in mind as its role, you probably have a better time with this weapon. But man, I don't know. I'm still just an absolute hater. And with that, I'm putting this bastard in the fucking D tier. D for Dookie. Oh, yes. The HRG Dragon's Blaze, my beloved. You can acquire this beautiful weapon for 1,400 dosh and weighs you down only 7 blocks or 7 weight. Oh man, this weapon has to be one of my absolute favorite Firebug weapons. Honestly, even the support version of this, where it's just a quad barrel shotgun, that's another one of my favorites. We'll get to that one in the support class video. There's something about this gun, oh man, I love it. Its stopping power is so good. Its pellet spread is honestly perfect. You have, let me lay you down some facts here real quick. You have 2 different fire modes with this weapon. One, your primary, which is just a vertical strike of fireball pellets, and your alt fire is the same thing but horizontal instead of vertical, making this weapon one of the most versatile in the game. You can snipe shit with your vertical shot from like across the whole map pretty much, and even if like 2 or 3 pellets hit a small Zed, they're done. The stopping power on the bullets is just so good. One of my favorite things to do is use the vertical spread on like hordes of enemies, or if I need to place down like almost like a fire trap, because the fire lingers from this weapon. And then when I get up close, or if there's just a singular Zed, I use the primary fire, and the wall of fucking fireballs just take their asses out. Honestly, big guys too, you're having trouble with Skrakes, literally just put the barrel in their face and spam the vertical fire. If you nail like 3/4 of the blast, they are going down so fast. And with 4 shots in your quad shotgun, man, they're gonna be wishing for death sooner than you can dish it out. That's all I gotta say. Of course, you know, I had to put this puppy in the S tier. Hyped it up, and honestly, it deserves it. It performs like almost better than every other gun in the game, in my opinion. Next up on the list, we have the Spitfire Revolver single variant. You can get this weapon for 325 dosh, and it only weighs you down 2 blocks. It only has a primary fire of fireball. This weapon, you know, it's not bad, but it's not one that I'm going to be buying unless I want pain upon myself in the later rounds. As a support weapon, I can see this weapon being pretty viable, or early rounds. It is really cheap, so it makes sense to save it for the earlier rounds. You know, it puts the hurt, and if it doesn't kill a Zed, a lot of the times it can stumble, and we do love inducing a good stumble, especially on larger Zeds. With only 6 shots in the cylinder, constantly reloading, constantly spamming your fire because it doesn't do a lot of damage, so you're constantly having to shoot shit. You are just an ammo eating goblin with this weapon. You have to be very careful. If you're better at ammo consumption, go right for it. But this weapon, in my opinion, deserves C tier. And that's mainly because you only have the 6 shots. You run out of ammo pretty decently. Not super good on the larger Zeds. And it's pretty decent on the smaller Zeds. So like I said, a decent support weapon. But, it's not going to be blowing anybody out of the park anytime soon. That's for sure. Yippee, yippee, skippy dippy. So if you thought the Dragon's Blaze was my favorite gun, I lied. Mac 10 is what we have up next. You can get this weapon for 900 dosh, and it only weighs you down 4 blocks, with the primary fire being fully automatic incendiary ammo, and with the alt firing just changing your fully auto to a single fire shot instead. It does not increase the damage or anything, but it does help to be very accurate with smaller Zeds, seeing as though you can pretty much just one tap all the small Zeds in the head with this weapon, and if the one tap somehow didn't kill him, the fucking burn afterwards will. This weapon really truly exceeds as a support weapon. The footage you see here, I did force myself to only use the Mac 10 just to see, fully expand its range and test it out. I am cheating a little bit using the Molotovs to assist here, but that is just because you just can't do that much damage with the Mac 10 to bigger Zeds, but your potential for killing small Zeds is absolutely maniacal. I think it's a great support weapon. I kind of just have a soft spot for the Mac 10 and real life in my heart, mainly just because, look at that thing, dude. That suppressor is just so comically large. I love the shitty stock of this thing. The reload is so sick too. And then the killing floor just goes and adds fire bullets to it. This weapon was already pretty dangerous with its fucking fast rate of fire, and then you put fire bullets in it. Again, not a terrible weapon on its own, but you will definitely want to pair this with the HRG Dragon's Blaze. Pairing these two weapons up where the Mac 10 can do a bunch of damage, and the HRG Dragon's Blaze can come and clean it up. One of the best combos in the game, in my opinion. And with that being said, the Mac 10 is going up into the S tier. I don't care what you have to say. This is one of my favorite weapons ever. Also, look at that gold skin. That shit so beautiful. You jealous? Talk about support weapons. Incoming, the Thermite Boar. Get this weapon for 1,500 dosh, and it weighs you down 7 blocks of weight. Primary fire simply just shoots a thermite grenade without triggering your alt fire. The thermite grenade has a 4-second timer on its own. Otherwise, your alt fire manually detonates all thermites on the board. So if you can get 6 thermites down before the 4 seconds is up and hit your alt fire, you are going to be blazing the place up. This is definitely intended to be a support weapon. Very often in this trial run here where I was testing it to its full potential, I think I ended up killing myself 2 or 3 times just because the Zeds would swarm me. The bigger Zeds wouldn't die in one thermite shot, and they would swarm me. And by the time they were up close, it was either I manually detonate and blow myself up, or the 4-second timer ran up and I was going to get blown up anyway. It is a little embarrassing to say that I have killed myself with this weapon more than I think any other weapon in this game, and I've only just been recently playing with it. I used to not run this weapon. Honestly, I wasn't really sure even what it was, what it did, how to use it or anything, but after this trial run, it is clear to me where this weapon sits. Pre-firing Zed spawns with 2 or 3 thermites here, 2 or 3 thermites there, blasting it, and you have a fire trap for the beginning of the round, reload, and start pumping those Zeds full of more thermite grenades. You're going to have a decent start to your wave. If you can keep that momentum, you're not going to be stopped, especially when you're killing all those little guys with the fire burning afterwards and you're sticking thermites in the big guys. It really makes sense. The one thing, you run out of ammo pretty decently. It would be nice to have another weapon just because this thing cannot take out larger Zeds very easily. So something to give it some help definitely is nice. All that being said, I'm putting this thing in the A tier just because it is a fairly decent support weapon. Here we have next the dual Spitfires, coming in at 650 dosh and weighing you down 4 weight. Let's just get this over with. I'm putting it 1 above. It's going in the B tier. It's the same thing as the single, just twice. Just like every other dual wielded pistol in the game, you do have the alternate fire to change your aiming type. Not completely useless feature, honestly. When you're sniping stuff from really far away, it is nice, but most of the time time, I do just keep the hip fire aim on. I'm putting this weapon in the B and not the C or any lower just because the Spitfire isn't bad. And now that you have two of them, it's a little less bad. You eat ammo, I'd say, a lot faster because you're shooting double the bullets, but that also means you're doing double the damage technically because you're pumping Zeds full of double the fireballs. With that, it just makes sense to put that bastard one tier up. Next, we have the Cock and Burn. This is the Firebug's starter weapon. If you ever sold it or whatever and wanted to buy it back, or if you played a different class and wanted to buy it, costs you 200 dosh and it weighs you down 5 blocks. Surprisingly, a pretty heavy weapon, albeit that it's still pretty useful. It only has one fire mode, which is its primary flamethrower, and that obviously, you know, there's not really much else to it. It is just 2 tubes of cock hooked up, jerry rigged up to some fucking flame sort of device. I'm not really even sure how this thing would work in real life. I doubt it would, although it is still pretty fucking cool, like, of an idea, and it does really decent damage for a starter weapon. You only get 50 fuel, but you can, you know, with this weapon, it is very versatile. You can choose to flame the floor, cause a little bit of a flame walkway that Zeds have to crawl through, or you can just straight up flame Zeds. Very easily induces stumble, and I think that has something to do with like the fire damage rate or something, and you're constantly just pouring fire on. So when you do have to fight the bigger Zeds, it's not like a terrible thing. You just only have 50 fuel. With it being a starter weapon, you don't have access to its ammo right away. If you use this thing exclusively on wave 1, you will probably run out of ammo. Again, that's not a super big deal because you're on wave 1, but if you are on Hell on Earth difficulty and you're really trying to like push forward and save, which you kind of have to do with as tight as money is on Hell on Earth, you are going to be wanting to melee often and flame the big guys in wave 1 to save your ammo. But if you don't give a shit, then do what you want. I just had to mention the ammo does get tight on wave 1, but after that, its ammo consumption isn't terrible. But hopefully by the time you realize that the ammo consumption isn't that bad, you have sold that gun and bought something else. So I'm putting that in B tier. Next, we have the HRG Scorcher. You can get this little thing for 1,000 dosh, and it weighs you down 4 blocks. Its primary fire shoots a singular flare that sticks into Zeds, and its secondary alternate fire shoots what they call a broken flare. As you can see by this footage here, this weapon is not bad. You go through ammo quite fast, and you only get 1 round per, so Zed time is kind of a bitch. That means this is one of the most ideal support weapons. You're out of Molotovs for whatever reason, or, you know, you want to save them. You launch that broken flare, and you have a nice fire trail on the floor for Zeds to walk through. It's really good for the stalkers because it reveals them, and any kind of fire damage to them chars them. So if you have any suspicion that there might be stalkers around, the HRG Scorcher, hit that alternate fire in a direction that you think they're coming from, and if they hit the fire, then obviously, you know, they're there. One of the things I've been doing with this weapon is running around, launching the broken flare above all the Zeds, lighting them all on fire, and then main flaring the bigger guys. I never used to use this weapon before, and I used to think it was a piece of shit because it was a pistol for 1,000. I've definitely come a long way, and I've changed my mind quite a bit on this weapon. It did not really take much convincing. It just took me not being an idiot to figure out how to use it to its full potential. It's quite a brilliant weapon, so I'm gonna put that at A tier. All right, and now here we have the Cock and Burn's older brother, the Flamethrower. This is another one of my favorites. You can get it for 1,200 dosh, and it weighs you down 7 blocks. Primary fire is Flamethrower, of course. There is no alternate fire, just like the Cock and Burn. This weapon is literally the Cock and Burn times 2. You get 100 fuel instead of the 50. You do a lot more damage with it. When this weapon is being deployed, the Zeds will want to run and hide. That's all I have to say. When you're fighting Skrakes or flesh pounds and you have the amount of fire to make them stun for like 5 seconds straight, and then they don't even get a chance to hit on you, this weapon is a beast. Pairing this with the HRG Dragon's Blaze is another one of my favorite combos to do. If not the MAC-10 in the shotgun, then it's definitely the Flamethrower in the shotgun. And that's just because when they get close, I can't just spam my shotgun for whatever reason. You bust out the flamer and it's all good, chief. Your problems just melt away, just like that. Of course, with that being said, that bad boy is going all the way up into the S tier where it belongs. shooters. Last but not least, we have the Helios rifle or Helios rifle. I'm not really sure how you pronounce it. You can get this thing for 2k dosh and it weighs you down 8 blocks. It has a primary fire of just a fully automatic microwave balls. Your alternate fire changes the fire mode from a fully auto to a 3-round burst. This weapon is another one I often sleep on because I think the HRG Dragon's Blaze is a much better late round weapon than the Helios rifle. It's cheaper, it's lighter. The ammo consumption I think is a little bit worse, but it's okay because you have the weight to be able to carry some support weapons, Mac 10, flamethrower, of course. With that being said, however, the Helios rifle is not bad. Just because it's not my personal choice does not mean you should not buy this thing and give it a shot at least. For 2k, it is pretty steep, but it does perform pretty well. It shoots just like the microwave gun, the microwave blasts, but except of a beam, you can actually shoot this at pretty far range, inducing stumble pretty easily, melting the bigger Zeds. And there's something about the fireball pulse that I feel like is just a lot more punchy than the microwave gun, making it do just a slight bit more damage per like fireball, I guess. I really just hate the microwave gun, and if I were to choose between the Helios rifle and the microwave gun, I'd choose the Helios rifle in a fucking heartbeat. I think it's just way more versatile. You don't get the blast like you do with the microwave gun, but you have way more range than its primary beam fire, meaning that Zeds aren't going to get that close to you in the first place, so you won't need to resort to a blast. And if they do get that close, it is 1 weight block less than the microwave gun, meaning you have access to like 1 or 2 weapons that you couldn't with the microwave gun to use as support weapons. Again, not a weapon I often choose, but not one that deserves to be slept on. I'm putting her in the A tier. And that just about does it for this video. Thank you guys for watching if you did end up making it this far. If you liked it, leave a like on the video, and of course, drop a subscription if you'd like to stick around. I will be trying to make more of these videos until the release of Killing Floor 3, and then hopefully I will have some content on that game when it comes out, and hopefully it's not a piece of shit. Ta-ta! Tracy, Tracy! Oh, you broke my diamond!
What the fuck is that? Let's go right. Let's go right.
Okay. I feel like I heard like...
Don't go right!
Oh my god! Yo, what the? This is a fucking crazy spot to be at.
Yeah, I'll do it.
We got the fort over here.